Hello everyone, this is Lunden. I decided to do a little voiceover for our Pardon My Cycling channel of some tactics analysis. I recently did a Tuesday night fast ride on TNFR, as we call it, down at my college in Purdue University in Indiana, and I figured I'd go over some of the tactics that were used in the group ride. It was fast paced. I think we averaged over 23. Nothing crazy, but still quite the pace. I know I was suffering at points. It was a ride where we were able to kind of go and attack and just have some fun, so we'll get right into that and hope you guys enjoy. One more thing before we get going, I want to just mention my overall plan for the ride. This isn't a first place, last place kind of ride. We're all here just to have fun, try new things. But my overall goal is to work with my buddy Lucas, who you saw in another video, cycling podcast in quotations, to have him or me come up in the front group and make it to the final stop sign first. Some of the other heavy hitters, we have Kurt, and then George's as well, who's got a massive FTP. Both of them are solid riders. So we'll be working with them and keeping the pace fast. So as you can see here, I didn't drop too many people with my attack over those rolling hills. The guys kept with it. I think we dropped one guy, but otherwise these are the best in our area, so they're not going to give out. I do want to mention something about drafting real quick. If you kind of notice where I'm sitting behind Lucas here, slightly off to the left, I don't know if you guys indicate or can tell, but there's actually a wind coming from our right side, coming from the west. That's where the major headwind is, so we're trying to stay away from that wind, get out of it, to try and conserve as much energy as possible. So turning into this left spot, once we get the tailwind, it's going to be a great place to start attacking, because everyone's going to start having to put that much more effort in, because that draft is not going to be as effective when you got the wind behind you instead of in front of you. So you'll see here, Lucas he just rolls right off the front and no one catches him. So what I decided to do is just let other people chase. Oh geez, almost got hit by a car there. I remember that point. I let the other guys chase, and then as soon as we bring Lucas back, I go out for an attack, because he's my Suedo teammate, you can call it. Here's me at the front. You can see I'm barely doing any power, keeping it around 200 watts, not trying to bring Lucas back. And that's just to conserve energy and make everyone else work to bring him back, because Lucas is out there doing threshold, 290, 300 watts for him. Making everyone else work that much harder to bring him back. So here we're right at the edge of bringing Lucas back, and like I said before, I'm gearing up to get ready for an attack. Lucas is right there. As his teammate, I am obligated to go and put an attack. So I get behind the group. I get a really good speed differential. They're going 25, I'm going 28. It's going to be a lot much harder for them to get on my wheel, and putting that little sprint effort just to make sure that they're not locking onto my wheel. And then I just settled into a little VO2 effort, just to ensure that normally you'd want to do probably closer to a threshold, but I had some intervals for the day. Now here's kind of a tricky situation. So I went off the front and Lucas actually soloed up to me, and as a teammate, being in a breakaway too, that's awesome. But the only problem with that is you get Kurt, who comes back, breaks back, and now Lucas and I are tired. It's great if Lucas, it would have been great if you didn't think that we would get anyone else to come up. However, they come up and now we're both tired and we're in that breakaway. However, it was only two guys who came up, so I'd like to think it was an equal effort by both guys. Probably a little bit more because they had to go faster to catch us. So still solid, keeping the numbers even, and if we were able to get a breakaway of us two, it would have been a whole lot better, because we're going to work together, whereas working with Kurt or working with George is going to be a little bit harder because they're not exactly on our team, quotation marks, per se. But this is really just something to try out, getting in a breakaway with your teammate like that, having him bridge up to you. It's not really a recommended strategy, especially among crits, but Lucas being a breakaway guy, me being a breakaway guy, especially both being good climbers and having that VO2 max efforts, in smaller groups I think it would work great. In larger groups, probably not so much. So it's really up to our best judgment, and just to try things and see if it works one day, maybe it doesn't work another day, because that's what cycling is about, is learning and adapting. So I'm going to switch to a new topic. We have another hill coming up. It's about a 1 minute hill, more of a sprint, but before this I told Lucas to gun it up this hill, because we're going to try and drop Kurt and George's, because we're climbers, we have the watts per kilogram, so now it's just time to make them hurt. So I yelled, I don't know if you heard there, Lucas, go. And he went. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to sit on Kurt's wheel. I'm going to not do any more work than I have to. And I'm going to make Kurt pull me up to Lucas so then I can attack again. And that's what we're going to keep playing. It's just this cat and mouse, and resting in. And of course we have George's right behind me, who's he's the heaviest rider but certainly has the most flatline power. But on these hills he can suffer a little bit. Now if you can see that little black dot up in the distance, that is Lucas. You can see Kurt trying to make a little bit of a sprint effort, try to drop me from his wheel. I'm lucky I'm light and I can accelerate right back onto his wheel, so I'm still getting that draft. And you'll see here, as soon as Kurt gets done, I'm going to launch off. I'm going to do a little bit of a 1-2 double sprint and blow past Lucas, and I tell Lucas, I shout at him, I'm like, sit in the draft, recover, let Georges do the work, so that they're suffering. But eventually here I get pulled back by Georges and Kurt. I notice they're right on my wheel, so I decide, just pull off to the side and let them on through, and then we start the rotation again until Lucas or I are ready to attack. At this point here, we're getting to probably one of the biggest climbs on this route. Right when we get up to this corner, Kurt and Georges, they start talking. They're like, hey George, Kurt says, hey Georges, this is gonna hurt. These two guys are gonna make it hurt. So get ready for that. Get on their wheel, and let them do the work. So Lucas and I are just pacing out, just a nice tempo. We still have about a mile to the hill yet, but they're talking about it now. So right here, we're on the hill now, as the screen keeps cutting to random places. But Kurt's right here on the left side. He's blocking me in. Really great job. He makes me pull back, so either he can slot in, and what that does is I have to push a little bit harder just to get right back on the wheel. However, this is something I need to do if Lucas is at the front driving pace, and if I need to go and attack at the top of this hill where it starts to really have that really steep incline. So Lucas is at the front, like I said, driving pace. I wish he went out a little bit harder. For this time, we were just kind of having him go out the front, and then I was going to attack up the hill and then solo off, do another attack. So he was going a little light here. So next time, we were actually discussing both of us going off right here, because it is a 2.5-3 minute climb, and we are awesome at our 2 to 5 minute power, like I said before. And if we both can get off, all the merrier, and working together to get to the finish. So I went off here. I made sure I kind of tried to drop back from Kurt a little bit. I didn't do too much. Try to get that sprinter's gap so he wasn't on my wheel. And I just launch off the front. We have about 30 seconds till we reach the top. So it's just getting to the top, making sure no one's with me, and putting down some power, up to 650 watts, especially after, some hard group riding. Pretty good stuff. We're still, even at 19 miles an hour, have a really good draft. So anyone who is behind me can come right over the top, because it isn't super steep. So that's another thing, that if Lucas and I were to go off the front like that, we both can just kind of draft off each other, whoever's in front, and then get away a little bit better. The only problem is what comes after this. It's just flat. So we have to work through that. Nope, you can hear me suffering a little bit. as I was talking to Kurt afterwards, he said that when I was going off the front here, he was really just trying to keep the distance, not increase the distance, not decrease the distance a whole lot, but just letting me suffer off the front. I forget what we call it, a pain dangle, as some of my other teammates back home call it. You can see, if you had my heart rate, you would know I'm in a lot of pain, but he's just keeping that because he knows that if he tries to gap up to me, Lucas is going to sit on his wheel and pull right in. So we're getting towards the end of the group ride, and we have just a little bit of a kicker here, and Lucas does something that he admits kind of hurt him afterwards. He decides to go right off this little kicker, try and get a gap, and he gets a decent gap by almost getting hit by a car again. He's really gonna stop doing that. And I'm struggling a little bit. I was just pulling everyone, so it kind of hurt me a little bit to do that, but he gets off the front, and eventually Kurt gets right up to him, but because of that, eventually when I make my attack, he's not going to be able to respond and get on my wheel. George's isn't either. We eventually get him, and actually George's had to catch up after the big curber climb, that big climb where I attacked. So he's got a lot of effort in him right now, and I'm just going to sit on his wheel because he's an awesome draft, and have him pull me up to Kurt and Lucas if he can. I don't believe he does. Coming up here is my little attack on George's to bridge up to Kurt and Lucas. It really is only about 20 seconds later after my last talking point. You can see I kind of drop back and a little left to the left a little bit, and I spike the power up, and I try to get over so that he can't accelerate with me. And since I've created such a speed differential between Lucas and Kurt, who are just kind of chilling, I can blow right past him. Kurt hears me coming though, so he gets right on my wheel, or tries to. He ends up about a second behind and is chasing me back on my little breakaway attempt here. So good on him for looking back and noticing that. So Kurt cut up to me. We had a stop sign, so I had to slow down, and he got right back on my wheel, and I was also suffering. So don't make it seem like I'm making the stop sign as an excuse, because I was hurting. I just I wanted to hold off a little bit, but Kurt, being the nice guy he is, he eventually is like, "Hey man, let's take some turns, take some pulls. Let's try and hold off Lucas and George's." So I abandoned my own teammate. For a little bit of a breakaway with Kurt, and I'm okay with this because the final stretch, it's a climb. I'll have a good solid minute and a half where I can try and break away from Kurt. The final part before we get to the end of the fast part of the ride, where I can kind of make my breakaway count. So here we're just gonna trade pulls, stay away from George's and Lucas. And eventually this does work. We go to the finish with this. We're coming into the finish straight. Right now we have a slight downhill before the uphill. And like a good climber, I told Kurt to get at the front on the downhill, make himself work. I mean, we're gonna go faster overall as a team this way. What it benefits me, because this final part, I can really gun it, and he's going to be a little tired for the downhill. So it really works out nice for me. And as you can see here, I'm coming around, I'm starting to put power down. We're still on a little bit of a flat here, but eventually we hit that uphill, and we gun it. So that's the ride. There was not really a clear victor. Kurt was right on my wheel up through the finish of that climb. Good on him. I put some power down. I had all I had left in there. He tried to come around me, but I might have had him by half a bike length. But after that downhill, then going up against a climber on his home territory, that was pretty good. Pretty sweet effort. So we're just coming back to the library here. We do a little bit of chit-chatting and stuff with all the guys. We picked up a few more who took a little bit shorter route. But overall, it was a fun ride, and I look forward to riding with these guys a few more times. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. This is part of my cycling. This is Lunden. Hope you guys have whatever you're watching it, a wonderful hump day, wonderful weekend. Let me know what you think, and hope to do more of these in the future. Thank you.